Hey, this is Steven from LegitTechTutorials, and welcome back to How to Program. Today we're going to be going over getters and setters. So getters and setters, pretend that we have an int of type x. Let's say for whatever reason that's a 0, an int of type of name y is also equal to 0. So let's say we want to set these integers, but these are private, which I've actually yet to go over. That might be something I want to change. Well, don't think of that yet. That's we go over that later on. Let me write that down so I'm sure that I go over it. Okay, now these guys we're gonna set them using a getter and setter. So first let's go over a setter. So a setter uses parameters. So we're going to say set x and capitalize X, and then we're going to say int, and then this type is going to match this type. So x, we're going to say mx. Now when we go inside, we're going to set x is equal to mx. So now whatever we put in here as mx, now x equals. So let's say we pass in set x, we pass in a 5. Now this is now 5 after we run through this this method here. So now we could set x to whatever variable we want very easily by doing one line inside any of our methods. And as we go over private and public later on, you'll see that this definitely brings in a lot of security inside of your program, and also brings a lot of cleaner code. So that's very simple. I mean, to do anything, all you have to do, a getter and setter for any of that, is to have the same leading here, and the same. If it was a data structure, you would have. If it was like. In the data structure it had primitives like int, for example, let's say it had int doubled in string, you would bring in an int, then you would bring of whatever identifier, right? You would bring in a double of whatever, and then a string. So you would just have this equal to whatever you want to set it as. So here this is an int x, right? So you have an int here. And you'll see in programming, and you'll see in the standard programming how I set that up for larger ones. But like I said, if I go in here into my eraser and I erased this guy, oops, and I erased this guy here, whatever, let's get rid of the whole thing. Okay, so let's say I do we're going to do set x, and then we're going to have we're going to say set xy. So this is going to set both the x and the y variable. So here we have an int x, and then mx, an int my. Boom, we have two parameters inside, and now we're going to set x is equal to mx and y is equal to my. And that's all you need to do, and so on and so on and so on for however many parameters you have. You just keep going down and setting those to your instance variables, the same name up top, but make sure you have the m there so they don't collide, because you see how this is different than this, so they're not technically colliding. So that's why you do an m, but you can do whatever you want, n, q, z. You can even have a z, because not very many things have z's in the beginning. So let's say we do a z from now on, but it kind of looks like a 2 when I write it. Okay, whatever. Okay, so that's a setter, right? And like I said, however many you want long just goes down this way. Now let's do a getter. So a getter doesn't have very much inside. So let's say we wanted to have a get y. No parameters, but you're going to have a return type of int. And all you do is you return y. And why would we want to do that? For example, let's say that we wanted to set x to y, right? So we say x equals get y. And that's it. Now it just jumped into here, returned the y value, pulled this guy here, and stored it in x. So that's why you would use a getter, is to work with variables indirectly. And this way, what you could do is you could do cross-class, which we haven't gone over yet. So let's say we had two classes, and this guy was in this class, but we were using this class to mess with this guy. We would use this method to mess with this guy's y. So y is there, we would use this method to get y, and we would use the setter as well as the previous one we went over, the setter, right? To mess with the y from all the way over here. So we use this method here to mess with the y, to set it, and also to pull that value. We don't want to set it directly because that could possibly, that's just bad code as far as it's bad technique. It's bad coding technique to not use getters and setters. Some more on getters and setters is that sometimes your IDE, like Eclipse, will automatically do the getters and setters for you for each variable you do. It'll automatically set it to where you don't even have to mess with it. It's done. Once you add another one, I don't know if it adds it on the fly. You might have to click the button again, but it'll add that setter in for you right away. So that is why we use getters and setters. And it's this guy, you can't have multiple return types. You can't have multiple return types. So if it was an int and a double, it does not work. So this guy, you would need a separate for each. So you need a getter for y, a getter for x, a getter for z, or a getter for whatever. And like I said, this guy is the same as the type of this guy. So if y is a double, this is a double. If y is an int, this is an int. If y is a string, this is a string. So you set this guy with whatever type y is. And that's getters and setters, guys. And that's also going over, so when you see this in your the language you start to learn, you will recognize what it is. And yeah, so this has been Steven from LegitTechTutorials. I'd like to thank you for watching this tutorial video. If you like my videos, please subscribe for more videos like it. And if you have any questions, email me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.